Hello. This is my second workshop. I was one in April in Houston, and I asked the question there, so I'm 2 for 2. My experience is 11 and a half years ago. I had an accident that left me a paraplegic. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I've learned the idea of spontaneous healing. And teachings from you and others that express meditation and visualizations every day to eventually get to that manifestation. So I want more clarity in how I can achieve this.
We like the way you presented all of this in words, because you set it into a framework that will make it easy for us to address it in a way that you can really get this. Visualization. We talked about something like that a little bit ago. Visualization cannot be lip service. And when you're experiencing a reality that you're trying to visualize around, it usually is. And what most people don't understand is that since every subject is 2 subjects, it's like a stick with wanted on one end and the absence on the other end. So being able to use your legs on one end and not being able to on the other end. And when what's really most active in your vibration is a reality of what is, and then you try, our friend earlier used the term of try to drive it, you try to think thoughts that are contrary to what you believe, nothing shifts within you vibrationally. It's sort of like, have you ever, we're asking all of you this question, but have you ever been in a discussion with someone, usually someone you really care about, who has a very different point of view on something that matters to you? So you explain what you mean, and they explain what they mean, and then you explain what you mean, and then they explain what they mean, and nothing moves for either one of you. And the longer you go on about it, the more dug in both of you get, and nothing changes. Well, you're like that with your own self. You want something that you don't believe, and it's hard to believe something that really isn't. And it's even harder to believe something that isn't, that most professionals who ought to know don't agree with either. So visualizing about that is almost always counterproductive. It just is, because it defies logic and so many of the things that you've been taught to pay attention to your whole life. But as you hear what we're talking about here, and when we say to you, you can be or do or have anything that you desire, and we're not kidding you even a little bit. When we say that if this time-space reality has the wherewithal to cause you to give birth to a desire, it has the wherewithal to deliver the full manifestation of that desire, unequivocally. So it's all about attraction. It's all about vibration. So you put your question in the best possible way. So how do I go about this? Help me to understand how to go about this. Well, we think you really heard clearly what we said so far. And earlier we were talking about how when what you're living causes you to want something different than what you have put that vibration, that request, that intention into this vibrational reality. And the moment you did that, your inner being, who is not hindered by beliefs of the physical, your inner being saw it clearly and purely and unequivocally only as you desire it to be. There's no contradiction in the way your inner being sees this. And therefore, it really is done. It really is done. So now what's your role? Your role is not to contradict with your reality what's done. And that's the tricky part, isn't it? Because reality shows itself to you in vivid ways. So you don't have to always be in that state, just sometimes. That's why meditation is so powerful, because during meditation you will suspend those hindering beliefs, and you will, every time you meditate, you will allow the dominant belief, the dominant knowing that your inner being holds about that, you will allow that to be the dominant vibration. And under those conditions, it doesn't take much of that before the cells of your body, we are not kidding you, begin to respond to that, not contradicted this.
So if you meditated consistently, and you've said, I've heard in your videos that you say maximum 30 minutes.
Well, your mind wants to be active, and it isn't necessary to ask your mind to do something that it doesn't really want to do. Give yourself the optimum probability of getting into that state of detachment. Sometimes it might take 15 or 20 minutes before you even reach that state of detachment because your mind is sort of busy on things. But it doesn't need to be a long period of time that you're in that detached state. Just a suspension of beliefs for a little bit allows a lot of leverage of that. And then think about it. If you meditate every day, and that's a good idea because it's progressive, this alignment is progressive, it won't be long before you'll start really feeling that way. And then evidence will start showing itself to you. You'll rendezvous with other ideas and other successes and other possibilities. It just gets better and better and better and better.
I've seen that to some degree, and there was a state that I was in maybe a few months ago where I really was living in this space of the manifestation in my being, to the point that like at times like I would cry for just because I felt it so real, even though it wasn't physically manifested. And I feel like now I kind of lost that. Like it's almost like the momentum of doubt is
It's
there.
understandable, and don't beat the drum of that. Don't even explain it because it just amplifies that more. But we're going to give you a couple of statements that will help you still further. These are statements that we've been making, some for a while and the second really recently. And humans have to find a way to hear it because your see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it reality of life is different than you think it is. Follow us with the understanding of how thoughts turn to things. Think about thoughts turning to things. Thinking about vibrations turning to thoughts and thoughts turning to things. And think of it as progression, as coming more into a discernible, translatable experience. What humans think is reality is vibrational interpretation. And of course it's real. Of course you are sharing it. You are seeing and hearing and so forth what each other thinks that you are seeing. We're not trying to say that it is an illusion. It is a reality. But by the time something has manifested, like every moment in time, this is a manifestation. And here we all are perceiving one another. This is a manifestation. And your ability to translate vibration is why this manifestation is for each of you as it is. So here's a manifestation, another, manifestation, manifestation. All because thoughts have turned to things, and this is a manifestation. And we've sort of come to an agreed meeting place where we share this manifestation. What we're wanting to accomplish with these words is the sense of the vibrationalness, the vibrationality, the vibrational beingness, the vibrationalness of you, and what that means to what you call reality. It's a perceptual thing. All right, so thoughts turning to things. Once it is a manifestation, it's past tense. The present tense is what's in the process of becoming. The manifestation that you're perceiving in any moment of time really is past tense. Your inner being never looks back. Your inner being doesn't look back to the accident. Your inner being only looks forward, because that's where all of the creative power is. Only looks forward to your desire. So that's why when anyone looks back, we know you say, well, there's good things back there. Well, of course there are, but it's still back, and it's not as important. It's not as satisfying. It's not as fulfilling. It's not as rewarding. It's not as powerful. It's not as creating as when you look forward to what's in your vortex. So you all are going to be doing more of this as a result of these conversations, because you are even if you're not consciously aware of it, you're feeling resonance with our explanation of who you really are and how it really feels. So in the same way that your inner being is not looking back because what's happened in what you call your past is irrelevant, your inner being is also not looking at your now reality because it too is past tense. That's worth a drum roll. That's worth an understanding. That's worth a yippee-yi-oh, because what you call now is past tense. That cake's already baked. It's like gum that you've chewed the flavor out of. It's already done. You've got no power in what is other than to react to it. All of your power is forward looking. And that's why when you meditate and quiet your mind, you allow more forward looking. And we don't want you to fake it till you make it. We don't want you to give lip service to it. We don't want you to try to conjure images. We want you to know you already did that. It's already in your vortex. Your inner being is on it. Source energy is all over it, knowing exactly, knowing it, knowing this reality. So you're going to be moving to this reality, which means you can't stay in that reality. And of course you can, just don't struggle in it. Just be satisfied with what is and eager for what's coming. That's a far more productive state of being for you than to try to conjure images that your now reality is challenging you about. You see what we're getting at?
Mm-hmm.
And also you can get off the subject. There are so many things that you can begin right away feeling movement about. You're getting all kinds of insights about all kinds of things. And of course, that's what's most upon your mind, but it doesn't need to be. And after a little while, that will be sort of an irrelevant thing in the process of improvement, while you'll be fascinated with all of the things that your inner being knows about all of the things that you want. And there are many that will be taking shape. Show it to yourself. Just let your inner being show you your inner being's vision of all of this. And if you can hear this piece, so imagine your inner being just for a moment over here with all of that knowing of who you are, with all of that awareness of your physicality. Not one time looking back. Not one time. Not one time saying, we'll move from there over here. No. Here. All attention here. All attention here. Not, let's change that to this. No. All attention here. Because every minute you're looking at what you're trying to change. That's why, as people talk about gratitude, I'm so grateful. And we've been wanting to guide them to a word that's more productive of appreciation. Because in gratitude, there's awareness of what I'm trying to overcome, or an awareness of what I did overcome. In appreciation, it's just that more. Helpful?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And there are a few other things we want you to know. We've got you outnumbered. So everyone's on it over here. And there's nothing for you to do other than stop doing that thing you've been doing, which is facing reality. Facing what you call as reality. You all need to get clear about what reality is and where it is.
And that's a process, right? As we meditate and as we focus on this idea of not focusing on the past, and
that's very clever. Focusing on not focusing on the past. That right there, that's the rub right there. I'm going to focus on not focusing on the past I'm not focusing on. No, you're not. You got to change the subject, you see. And that's why that sound in the room, that air conditioner, as uninteresting as it is a pretty good thing to focus on. Because you're not thinking, oh, that sound is not as good as the sound I usually focus on. Or, I wonder if others have better sounds to focus on than I do. You don't go to your normal shortage consciousness thoughts when you're focusing upon something like that. And it takes some attention. In other words, you got to focus on it, because your mind will wander a little bit and you go, oh, wait a minute. And then you focus again and your mind will wander a little bit and you say, wait a minute. It takes some doing.
You think that's better than focusing on your breath?
Focusing on your breath is good too. Focusing on your breath is good too. The more detached you are, your breath is kind of personal. I think I have pneumonia. Hope I'm getting as much oxygen as I need. What if I hyperventilate? The sound in the room, it's less interesting.
Gotcha.
Really good.
Thanks.
Enough? Yeah.